This is part 9 of my testimony. Where we left off, my parents were taking care of me and I was living with them because I had late-stage Lyme disease. I had a lot of pain, a lot of neurological problems. I was having trouble walking, body parts were going numb. I was having trouble with my speech. I was either slurring my speech or I was not able to talk at all for sometimes a whole day, which may have been a relief to some people, but I found it very upsetting and very, very depressing. I then moved with my parents a couple of states away to, they bought an old house, and I was living there with them for quite some time before I got married. My fiance would come and visit me on the weekends. At this house that my parents lived at, I was experiencing some pretty terrifying things. I was seeing things at the end of my bed a lot more frequently. I was having what the doctor called night terrors. That's a very mild term for what it was. I was literally shrieking my brains out, and my poor parents, were having, I'm sure, just mild heart attacks in the middle of the night. They would come running upstairs and tell me it was okay, and yeah, I knew it wasn't okay, but I allowed myself to think that it was Lyme disease that was doing this. I must just be going crazy. My brain is swelling. The doctor told me I had Lyme encephalitis, so my brain was swelling. And that's all it was. It was just, I was seeing things. I got rid of those tarot cards, so everything's great. I'm doing great. No. The friend that gave me the tarot cards, and not just her, a couple of other people also said this to me, that, well, you're living in an old house now. Your house is haunted. It's probably ghosts. So then I started to think, if I wasn't thinking it was my brain, I was going crazy, then I was thinking that there were ghosts. I really wasn't, I was not okay at this time. And I think I was highly suggestible, to be honest. I think you could have told me anything and I would have just grabbed onto it. The voices that I heard at school started to come back. And I guess that should have clued me in, but I really just was not okay. But those voices that were sort of tempting me to unalive myself, as they say on here, they were getting a lot stronger, or perhaps it was because I was in a completely different situation now. I wasn't, at school, there was no way that I was going to do that, but now my circumstances had changed, and I remember feeling like, I don't want to do that. I would never do that. But it seemed a little bit more of a reality to me in some way. It's kind of hard to explain. So now, fast forward to a few years later, I am a little bit better. I had a port catheter put in my chest and a lot of antibiotics pumped into my body. And then I had that port catheter removed out of my chest. And they finally decided that you're just too far gone. We don't think we can help you. So that was terrible and terrifying. So I had ended up finding some alternative medicine things that were helping me. I was in no way was I better, but I was a lot better than I was when I was at my parents' house. I got married. I was living at my at the house that I'm at now, and I was still really sick and still had a lot of pain, but I was walking better, and I was walking better, and I was able to. I didn't need as much care. I didn't have antibiotics being administered all the time, and so it got a little bit better. But sure enough, the spiritual happenings that were happening at my parents' house seemed to follow me to my new house, my new old house that I was living in with my husband. And that should have clued me in again, but and I really didn't. At this point, I started to think, well, okay, maybe I'm really just having some sort of a demonic attack upon my life, because I'm at a new house now. And so ghosts can't really follow you, can they? No, they can't. Things started to go missing. You'd put something down and it would show up in another strange place. That was happening to me a lot. My husband, I told him about it, and he didn't believe me at first, but then it started to happen to him as well. Lights were going on and off in a strange way. And now I was seeing, I was seeing a lot of things at the end of the bed. But one night I saw this little boy who looked like a 1900s, early 1900s kind of boy. And yes, my house was built in the early 1900s. So I started thinking, okay, well, maybe this house has a ghost too. I know it sounds ridiculous, but at the time, when things like that are happening, if you don't know what the unseen realm is capable of, you might be persuaded. Let's just say that. And I had lots of friends who would listen to my stories, who would say, yeah, oh my goodness, you have a ghost. It's a ghost, it's a ghost, it's a ghost. And I would say, but I'm having similar problems to when I was in school. So there were no ghosts at school, were there? No. Ugh. It sounds crazy to even talk about this to me. Like, I can't believe I think I had a lot going on. I was really sick, and I had a lot of problems, just a lot of physical problems that were constantly taking up my attention. And I was not really a Christian then, even though I prayed to Jesus and I prayed all the time. But I was not a born-again believer. I really wasn't. The dog that is behind me in the picture is a picture of the dog that I had at the time. I had two dogs. No, actually at the time I just had her. But that's right. Okay, at that time I just had her. She went outside. When I called her back in, I said, Jane, come back in. She came back in, and her ear looked like it had been cut. Now, her actual ear ended around like where her mouth is in the picture. So it was like a good 4 inches of hair had been jaggedly cut from her ear. And I was like, oh my gosh, what happened? Did you get stuck? So I went outside. She looked very upset and panicked. You know your animals, when they're upset. Her eyes were so big. And anyway, so I looked around, all around the yard, behind the shed, all over the grass, everywhere. I didn't see one strand of hair. We didn't have the type of fence that she could get her ear caught in. And I had a really bad feeling about this. But I just was like, well, I don't know. I don't know what happened, and I'm not going to get upset about it. But I was upset. I guess I'll have to continue to the next video.